Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Haynes, and I'm an audiobook narrator.
And I'm Trenton Bennett, and I'm also an audiobook narrator.
And as also a teacher of narration, I thought that I would join forces with Trenton to just talk about some of the things that if you are a newbie for recording audiobooks, I get my glasses because I got some reflection there, but if you are a newbie to audiobooks, this may be very helpful. If you have not started your journey with audiobooks, this may be very helpful. If you are a long-time audiobook narrator and just want some refreshers, going back to the basics, this might be very helpful. So we talk about essentially the tools that you can use to not only improve your likelihood of narrating audiobooks, but also your technique within them. So today's topic is something that is all new, or something that's coming out of left field to a certain extent. It's not so much about warming the voice up, warming the person up, but it sort of continues from our last one, so it's not completely left field. It's warming up the ability, technically, to record. So we're going to talk about the bad news in terms of what you need before you get through to a position where you can record an audiobook without being miserable. So that's the bad news. And the good news will follow in terms of how doable it can be to get the right space. We're going to talk about space, the first frontier, not the final frontier, but the first
Yes.
frontier. So, Trenton, take it away.
So in a previous video, we saw my recording space, which is a 10-foot by 10-foot room. I studied acoustics, I consulted with George the Tech Whittam, had this whole thing built out, but I didn't start out that way. So my point is, the bad news is it's very important to have a good recording space to begin with. There's a lot of technological tools out there, and you may be able to assume, or you may be thinking, oh, I can just fix that with some noise over, or the old joke, we'll fix it in post. But you need to start with a really good space. That's the bad news. The good news is you don't need a 10-foot by 10-foot room built consulting with an audio engineer, any of that. I started in my master closet, and I left the clothes in, and I had a very good recording space. That was very helpful. There's also other resources that you can use if you don't have a closet that you can record in. Local libraries, especially now that podcasting is popular, offer media recording rooms for people to do voiceover or podcast recording, and you can reserve those and go out there and have a space, and sometimes they even have all the equipment ready for you. But the reason I mention it's important is because you want to have a good basic sound to work with and then go upward from there and not assume that if there's some flaws in the area, if it sounds really harsh, there's a lot of noise, that you can just fix that with software. Because while software can fix some things, the more of that you use, the more it has to kind of take pieces out of the sound of your voice in order to get done what it needs to do.
I think it's also important for people to recognize that two things to understand. The first is that the wonderful studio foam that you see on the walls, the foam rubber, that's not a sound proofer. That's a sound dampener. You put
Yeah.
that stuff on the walls, it's not going to keep sound of car noise, traffic, heater, anything like that out of your space. So sound dampening is where you are taking away flat surfaces from which your voice will bounce, and it sounds like you're in a room. Now, if you're Jimmy Page, then yes, you do want to have that effect of, like, crossing the sound as if it's coming from one cliff to another cliff. That was what he did. That was special. You don't want that with voiceover. With voiceover, it shouldn't sound like a room. It should sound like a womb. It should be a complete vacuum with nothing but your voice coming in. So that's bad news on that front. However, just like Trenton said, closet, hey, if it's completely silent and you've got clothes in it, guess what? You've got it, because clothes will absorb the sound. They will not likely not reflect the sound. I don't know what kind of clothes, like a really well pressed suit might bounce them off.
Leave it in the dry cleaning bag.
That's right. Yeah. No.
Laminate it.
Right. We ought to perform an experiment on that sometime. Um, yeah, but yeah, there's something, Trenton, that I call like the home gym trap, where, on TV they'll advertise like this elaborate home gym system and all the things you can do with it. What happens usually? Well, somebody sinks a lot of money into that thing, and then the will to actually work out kind of diminishes because it's an all or nothing type of thing. Um, yeah, either you're using the whole home gym or you're just not using it yet. You will use it at some point, but no, not yet. So to get into the habit of exercising, a lot of wisdom is, oh, just take a flight of stairs, one extra flight of stairs, in your office, rather than taking the elevator. Get some sneakers and start jogging. That is what I'm also advocating for, which is, be sure that you have the basics silent and dampened. And then before investing, just like you said, Trenton, in the fancier stuff, get in the habit of recording, get in the habit of auditioning. Audition for small projects. And we can talk a little bit about that as well. But that's the bad news. You do need the space silent. By the way, also timing can be your ally there. If you've got, an evening free, traffic tends to be lower in the evening. So that's
Yeah.
that's something there. And don't make yourself all worried with, yeah, but what if I want to record during the day? This isn't sustainable. No, it's probably not sustainable, but it's a bridge.
Hey, and I'd like to come back briefly to something you said, Matt. It is very
Yeah.
important when you think about all of these things, like Matt said, you have to decide to yourself, okay, am I thinking right now about acoustic treatment, which means the room sounds okay. If I clap my hands, I don't hear a harsh echo.
Hmm.
Or am I thinking of noise reduction? There's cars outside. And on those fronts, that also does not have to be perfect. You need to take some steps, but every one of us has those times when that plane flies over, that guy with a big truck with a subwoofer goes through the neighborhood really slow, and we all just kind of, can I record now? Okay, I'll go back. So you do have game off, game on, timeout, car.
Absolutely. And it's not
It
your
happens.
fault. It's not your fault if it happens. It doesn't mean that you're an amateur because that noise leaks in. I remember reading a memoir from Bob Mould of Husker Du, and how he had a dedicated space in New York City, and that was just something that happened. New York's not a quiet place. And that was something that he struggled with every now and again when recording. Okay. So yeah, we all deal with these things. Uh Bad news, good news. Most important thing, well, they're just about equal. So I'm Matt Haynes,
And I'm Trenton Bennett.
and as your narration teacher and fellow narrators, I hope that our voices and your ears meet again real soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.